Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to this webinar about PG&E's Community Wildfire Safety Program. My name is Nab Dasanj Gill, and I am the Program Manager for PG&E's Public Safety Power Shutoff Program team, and I will be moderating today. I am a female in my late 30s wearing a black shirt. I have long black hair, and I am from East Indian descent. We're here to share information about what we're doing to reduce wildfire risk and to make our system safer. To start, you can participate in this webinar with American Sign Language by clicking the link that was provided in the chat. If you would like to get this information in a language other than English, we will be hosting an in-language presentations this summer. Please check pgne.com/webinars for the schedule. To view real-time captioning, you can, in English, Spanish, or Chinese, please click the CC button on the bottom right corner of your screen. You can change the language by clicking Settings and then adjusting the caption/subtitles language. For our presentation today, we want to make sure you have an opportunity to ask questions and give us your feedback. So our presentation will be approximately 30 minutes plus time for Q&A. And if you would like to ask a question, please send it at any time in the chat. If we're not able to get to your question today, please feel free to reach out to us at wildfiresafety@pgd.com and we will respond promptly. We will be recording today's presentation and we'll post it on our website, pgne.com/webinars. And we will start this webinar as we start all our meetings at PG&E with a quick safety moment. We want to share some tips to help you get ready for and stay safe this wildfire season. We encourage everyone to prepare for natural disasters or emergencies. Build a disaster supply kit for you, your family, or your business. Make sure to include food, water, medication, flashlights, first aid kits, a list of emergency contacts, and more tools to keep you safe. So for more information on how to prepare for an emergency, visit Safety Action Center, safetyactioncenter.pgne.com. Now, we're off to a safe start. We're going to discuss our agenda. Joining me is Tom Smith, a senior manager for PG&E's Customer Emergency Planning and Operations team. Today, we're going to talk about how we identify and reduce wildfire risk, an overview of safety outages and how they keep our communities safer, and available resources for our customers. With that, I will hand it off to Tom Smith to discuss the work we are doing to prevent wildfires in your community.
Thank you, Nav. My name is Tom Smith, and I'm the Senior Manager for PG&E's Customer Emergency Planning and Operations team. I'm a white male in my 50s, and I'm bald with blue eyes, and I'm wearing a black shirt. Since we launched our Community Wildfire Safety Program, we've reduced wildfire risk from our equipment across our service territory. We've accomplished this through a combination of ongoing safety programs, long-term improvements, safety programs, and new situational awareness tools. These measures work together to provide customers with multiple layers of protection. So to understand where we need to focus our efforts, we first identify where wildfire risk is the greatest. These high fire risk area maps show where risk exists in our service area. This helps inform where we target the wildfire work that you see all across the state. To help us better understand and respond to this risk, we built and installed our own network of high-definition cameras and weather stations. In 2022, we reached our goal of 600 total high-definition cameras installed, allowing us the ability to see more than 90% of the high fire risk areas we serve. And there on the left, you can see what those cameras look like on top of one of the communications towers on a transmission line. And we've also completed a comprehensive network of advanced weather stations, which give us real-time information. And you can see all the cameras and weather station locations in the community across our service territory by visiting pge.com/weather. So From there, let's talk about trees. And trees, of course, are a big source of wildfire risk. And that's why every year we inspect vegetation on 100,000 miles of power lines. We prune or cut down more than 1 million trees that present a hazard. And we're doing more pruning where we've had a high volume of vegetation-caused outages. Together, this work reduces wildfire risk and improves reliability for our customers. If any of this type of safety work is planned on your property, you can expect an advance notification from us by text or email. For information on our vegetation management work, you can also visit pge.com/trees. So now let's talk about how we're strengthening our grid. We're also reducing wildfire risk by strengthening poles and installing stronger covered power lines. We call this overhead system hardening. And so as you can see in the photos here on the left, you've got some linemen and they're working on what we call a composite pole, which is actually a pole that's made out of fire resistant materials with a fiberglass crossarm. And then we install that in the high fire threat areas. And then over on the right, you can see some reconductoring work where they're putting in stronger wires and more resilient wires. So we're currently working towards additional overhead system hardening projects totaling 185 miles across our service territory. This work's going to occur over several years and help prevent wildfires and significantly improve reliability during winter weather. Now let's talk about our undergrounding program. And I'm sure if you've watched TV over the last year or so, you've probably seen our CEO talking about our undergrounding program. We're committed to undergrounding 10,000 miles of power lines in areas with the highest fire risk because it is the best long-term solution for keeping customers and communities safe. Moving overhead power lines underground reduces ignition risk by 99% in that location approximately. Undergrounding limits future safety power outages, it improves system reliability overall, and it, of course, decreases the need for future tree work. Undergrounding also helps lower ongoing maintenance and our vegetation management costs overall. Over the past 2 years, we completed 268 miles of undergrounding in our service area. And to give you some sense of scope, a normal year in years past would be 5 to 10 miles of undergrounding. And so we've ramped that up by multiple factors, and we're going to continue to do that because this year we're currently working towards additional undergrounding projects totaling over 800 miles. Expanding our electric system underground will not only strengthen the system and help reduce wildfires, it will also help prevent outages. I'll just note that work plans can change, especially given the long lead time that underground projects require. We will continue to share updated details related to undergrounding work in the future. Maps of undergrounding throughout our service area can be found at pge.com/undergrounding. Next, we're going to be sharing more about potential wildfire safety outages and the important updates for this year. So first, let's talk about enhanced power line safety settings. In 2021, we added more sensitive safety settings on power lines that automatically turn off power within 1/10 of a second to help wildfires or to help stop wildfires before they start. These are called enhanced power line safety settings, or EPSS. In 2022, we expanded these settings to every customer who lives in a high fire risk area. These settings are proven to help stop wildfires. Last year, there was a 68% reduction in ignitions and a 99% reduction in ignition impacts, meaning nearly all fires that started were smaller and impacted less, despite the very dry drought conditions that we saw last year. Now, when the power is turned off, we of course have to then check the line for damage. So in your community, if there is an outage, you'll see foot patrols, crew members in trucks. We even use drones, fixed wing planes, and helicopters. And so while these system settings make the system overall safer, it may mean unplanned power outages. So if there's an outage on any EPSS protected line, we work to identify the outage causes as we're repairing the damage and restore power. And as I mentioned, one of the things back in the tree section, this is one of the things where if we determine that trees were the cause of the outage, we dispatch some targeted tree work out to that area to help prevent that from happening again. And this, the review process overall, as we're looking at these outages, helps us determine what steps we can take to help minimize the impact of outages and improve customer service overall. So now let's talk about public safety power shutoffs. High winds can cause tree branches and debris to hit electric lines, damage our equipment, and potentially lead to a wind-driven wildfire. That's why we need to turn off the power during severe weather to help prevent wildfires. This is called a public safety power shutoff, or PSPS. We use this tool when we expect the weather to be so severe that people's safety, lives, homes, and businesses may be in danger of wildfires. Every wildfire season is different. And of course, we've received a lot of rain and snow over the past 3 months, and that's great. But we know that dry conditions in late summer and fall are still a significant risk. Actual real-time conditions will determine if we need to shut off the power to ensure safety. So we'll just have to see what happens this fall. Now let's talk about the similarities and differences between PSPS and EPSS. I recognize for a lot of people, we use these letters and these acronyms, and they can be confusing. So let's highlight a few key differences. Every day we look at the wildfire risk and we decide what we need to do to protect customers. The EPSS program reduces risk from a fuel-driven wildfire. So fuel, bushes, trees, grass, things like that, right? We activate EPSS when we have a combination of dry fuel and very low humidity. Public safety power shutoffs reduce the risk of a wind-driven wildfire. So we use public safety power shutoffs when we have low humidity levels, high winds forecasted, a red flag warning declared by the National Weather Service, with the dry fuel on the ground, and then any real-time observations we can gain from our crews as well. We can inform you in advance of a public safety power shutoff because we based it on those weather forecasts and we have the ability to look out ahead of time. But we cannot inform you ahead of an EPSS outage because it's automatic based on a real-time hazard. For any type of outage, we'll inform you as soon as possible and give you regular updates. For more information on the status of any outage and the complete restoration process, customers can visit pge.com/outages. Now I'm going to hand it back over to Nav, who will talk about more resources available in your community.
Thank you, Tom. Now we're going to talk about resources to keep you safe. As we've seen already this year, through a historical series of winter storms, earthquakes, floods, and more, emergencies can happen at any time. We want you to know that the resources we'll cover next are available to support you during all kinds of emergencies, not just during wildfire season. I would like to start off with the Medical Baseline Program. Our Medical Baseline Program, also known as Medical Baseline Allowance, is an assistance program for customers who need energy for certain medical conditions. The program includes 2 different kinds of help: an additional monthly allotment of energy or a discount based on your rate. You may receive gas and electricity at a lower rate each month to support your qualifying medical device, and extra notifications for a public safety power shutoff, including live phone calls and doorbell rings. Customers will be considered based on medical conditions or need, not on income. So to qualify, a full-time resident in your home must have a medical condition and/or require use of a medical device to treat the ongoing medical condition. So examples of qualifying medical conditions could include sleep apnea, respirators, or special heating and cooling needs. So a complete list of qualifying medical conditions and devices can be found at pge.com/medical baseline or by calling PG&E at 1-800-743-5000. Please know, at your 1-year anniversary on the Medical Baseline Program, you will need to recertify. The vulnerable customer status. So additionally, you may also certify for the vulnerable customer status at pge.com/VC status. The status is for customers who do not qualify for the Medical Baseline Program, but have a member of the household with a serious condition that could become life-threatening if your service is disconnected. These customers will also receive that extra PSPS notification, including doorbell rings if notifications are not acknowledged. So to learn more about this program, visit pgne.com/VC status. So, public safety power shutoff notifications. As I mentioned, both our medical baseline program and vulnerable customer status include notification prior to a public safety power shutoff. We will notify those customers via phone, call, text, or email. If we do not receive confirmation of a response to these notifications, which means you don't pick up the phone and say hello, you don't read the text, open the email, we will make additional attempts by ringing the doorbell or leaving a doorbell hanger at the door. Our community resource centers. During a public safety power shutoff, we open local community resource centers where you can access resources. A safe location to meet basic power needs like charging medical equipment and electronic devices, up-to-date information about the public safety power shutoffs, and water, snacks, and other essential items. You can find a community resource center near you during a public safety power shutoff by visiting pgne.com/CRC. We also have food resource partnerships. So food loss is a challenge for customers during a public safety power shutoff. Customers can find a combination of perishable and non-perishable foods to support their families at participating food banks. Food banks will provide food replacement packages up until 3 days after restoration from the outage. Some food banks offer food replacement packages to income qualified customers only, while others do not have income restrictions. Please check with your local food bank where necessary. In addition to food replacement partnerships, we're also working with Meals on Wheels organizations to provide additional meals for seniors that are impacted by the public safety power shutoff. So on this slide, you can see a list of our food bank partners through our service area. As a reminder, we're going to be posting this presentation online in the coming days. You will be able to see this map and all our other resources by visiting pgne.com/webinars or visiting pgne.com/PSPS resources. And here are the Meals on Wheels partners that help us provide resources to our customers. The Disability Disaster Access and Resources. We are working with the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers and 16 participating Disability Disaster Access and Resource Centers to provide support before and during public safety power shutoffs. This includes hotel stays, food, and transportation as needed for eligible customers with access and functional needs. If you or another member of your household depends on electricity for medical needs, please reach out to your local Disability Disaster Access and Resource Center prior to a public safety power shutoff for assistance. And here are the Disability Disaster Access Resource Centers that may be open in your area if there's a public safety power shutoff. Our portable battery program. We provide portable batteries to customers and refrigeration for medication as a part of the portable battery program. And since we started this program in 2020, PG&E has distributed more than 18,000 portable batteries to eligible customers. For 2023, we have expanded eligibility for the portable battery program to include medical baseline and self-identified vulnerable customers with assistive technology or durable medical equipment who have experienced at least one public safety power shutoff in 2021 or 5 or more outages on an EPSS protected circuit in 2022. We will be reopening applications for eligible customers shortly. And you can visit pgne.com/portable battery for more information on eligibility requirements. And similar to the previous slide, here you can see the portable battery providers throughout our service area. And additional backup power support for customers. We have several programs which can help you find out how you might be able to get backup power during an outage. Our generator and battery rebate program offers a $300 rebate to help offset your cost in purchasing a qualified portable battery or portable generator. To be eligible, you must be either located in Tier 2 or Tier 3 of the high fire threat district or served by an EPSS circuit. We also have our backup transfer meter. So last year, PG&E developed a new meter design to help it make it easier for customers to use backup power during emergency outages. These meters help provide a safe and convenient way to connect portable generator power to your home in just a few minutes. This program is free to our customers with a compatible generator. More information is available at pgne.com/transfer meter. We also have the self-generation incentive program, which offer rebates to save on energy storage systems in your home and business. Whether an outage is planned or unplanned, a battery would allow you to have backup power for your home. If you're interested in more information, please visit pgne.com/SGIP. And then we have the fixed power solution. It offers permanent long-term backup power solutions for the most impacted customers. Learn more by visiting pgne.com/residential storage initiative. More resources, our 211 partnership. PG&E is partnering with 211, a free confidential calling and texting service to provide customers with support and resources during periods of critical need. They will help give customers, especially those with access and functional needs, a single source of information during public safety power shutoffs and a connection to available resources in their communities. Services are available 24/7 for everyone. You can learn more about this service at 211.org. And we also have additional customer resources. More customer resources and information about our wildfire safety efforts can be found at pgne.com/wildfire safety or by going directly to the pages shown here. Excuse me. To help you prepare for an emergency, you can visit PG&E Safety Action Center for resources, tips, and videos to help you stay safe. An emergency can happen at any time, and we recommend preparing in advance by making sure PG&E has your contact information to reach you, planning your family's medical needs, checking your emergency kit, checking your everyday devices, and conducting a safety check for any backup power generators. Our Report It Safety app is a great tool you can use to report and submit photos of non-safety concerns directly to us. So now, as a reminder, you're able to ask questions in the Q&A portion, and we're going to go ahead and transition to Q&A for today's event. In a few days, this presentation will be posted to PG&E's website at pgne.com/webinars. And so we have received some great questions, and we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Q&A. First question, are you still planning on changing to underground power lines in small towns in the Sierra Nevada mountains like was promised? If not, are you going to update? I'm sorry, I think I lost the question. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I'll jump in. No problem. You can just throw it over to me. So the question was basically about our undergrounding program and whether we're still not, or whether we're planning on doing undergrounding of power lines, and what we're doing also to update antiquated equipment. And the answer is to both questions is yes. We're doing both things at the same time. So first off, when it comes to the undergrounding program, as I mentioned, over the next 10 years, we're going to underground 10,000 miles of power lines. However, there are 25,000 miles of power lines in the high fire threat districts. So as you can see, that 10,000 is only a portion of the total overhead electric miles currently in that area. So it's not going to completely eliminate all of that that risk, right? So the other piece of it, and as I mentioned, well, before I get to system hardening reliability work, on the undergrounding program, we've done 260 miles this year with a plan to finish up at 800 additional miles over the next year, I believe. So, and as I mentioned in the presentation earlier, maybe you joined a little late or didn't catch it. In a typical year before, we were only doing 5 to 10 miles. So the fact that we're doing this much and we've ramped up and we're going to continue to ramp up each year, our targets increase in terms of the number of miles that we do to hit that 10,000 mile goal overall. Now, the second piece of that is you're talking about antiquated equipment. And there's no doubt that there is equipment that is nearing end of life or reaching the end of service. And so we have a full system hardening program that is going out there in concert with our inspection program. So before we get to fixing the problem, we have to diagnose the problem. So we have a very robust inspection program that goes out, inspects with drones, visual inspections, infrared, even cameras, LiDAR, things like that, looking at the lines and the power and all of the infrastructure. And then we're initiating projects to enhance, as I showed earlier in the slides, putting up things like composite poles, aluminum poles, fiberglass cross arms, things that can withstand fire and things that are fire resistant so that they do not ignite or start a fire potentially. And so we're doing that hardening as well as hardening of overall of our system vaults and undergrounding. We're looking at improving the overall the number of automated switches that we have in the field. So animal guards to ensure we keep squirrels and birds away from the lines that can cause power outages. Just a number of things that we're doing to try and eliminate and reduce both outages and wildfire ignitions.
Thanks, Tom. I have another question for you. So, a customer here has 3 different PG&E accounts between 2 homes and an office. They often get alerts that don't identify which location is impacted, and it would be helpful to update these. So do you have any thoughts on this question?
So I'm assuming you're referring to the text alerts, and I can acknowledge, I will definitely acknowledge that the text alerts, we have limited space there to convey information. And so I can see the frustration of if you do have multiple accounts that it doesn't, I can recognize it doesn't identify what address necessarily. Sometimes it does. If the front message is short enough, you can catch the front of the address on that message as it truncates into a text. So a couple of solutions. One, there's also email notifications that are available, and those would have the full information contained in the email, but understand not as convenient as a text. Secondarily, there is a lot of work going on. We're doing something called an outage journey improvement project where we are looking front to back at our outage experience currently, and we're working on a whole new suite and sort of how we deal with the customer, like the notifications that are sent, when you receive them, how we manage that process. There's an improvement process that's going on right now. And so I'm definitely going to share this feedback with them, and hopefully that can be somehow solved, but maybe it's a picture that comes with the text that has that extra information or something. But thank you for that feedback, and we'll definitely take that as something to work on.
Thanks, Tom. And we have a question from Mark, who said, many disabilities will not improve over time. These disabilities are known. Why recertify annually when the disability will not change or will get worse over time? Mark, that's a really good question. So for the medical baseline program, there is a recertification process. PG&E is working with the California Public Utilities Commission, along with the other electric utilities that serve California, and we're looking to change the recertification process and change it from a 1 year to 2 years and 4-year process. So the recertification is something that PG&E will work through with the CPUC, the California Public Utilities Commission, and it is something that we are working to reevaluate. So Tom, I have another question for you.
Okay.
Is PG&E obligated to provide details associated with power outages during wildfire season that aren't PSPS? We had outages last summer and we were never provided with a reason ever.
Yeah. So that one, can understand frustration there if you feel like, why is the power going out, right? And no one's giving you information. So let's walk through sort of the outage process and how an outage can happen and why you may not have ever heard about getting, the true cause of that outage. So hazard happens on a line. So something contacts the line or a piece of equipment fails. Now, in the case of equipment failure, typically you're going to get a follow-up notification. So you'll get the initial notification that says your power's out, crew en route. And then they'll get out there, they'll diagnose the problem, and then you'll typically get a second notification that will say power outage, X amount of customers, equipment failure, estimated time of restoration, and then some hours into the future, depending on the nature of the equipment failure. However, and that's an easy one, and if you experience that, you typically get that kind of message. Storms, sometimes we can't get those out as quickly as we want to because we're not assessing as quickly as we can because there's just so many outages. But in a normal, blue sky situation, you're going to see that kind of thing on an equipment failure. Now, there's another thing though that happens, right? And that's the hazards. And that's what we talked about, like our EPSS program. So think of a tree branch that falls. It strikes two of the wires. That's all it's got to touch up there. So you got 3 wires. In most places, you'll see 3 wires running along your distribution system. If that tree branch contacts 2 of those wires, you're going to get a fault and a hazard there. And when our EPSS system, you mentioned summer, when our EPSS system is enabled, what's going to happen there is that's going to trigger that the recloser that's upstream of that hazard hitting the line is going to open up. So to ensure that, there's not a spark that could potentially hit the ground and light things on fire. But what happens to that tree branch when it falls there on the 2 lines and it sits there for a second? And what does it do next? It falls off and it falls to the ground. And so you can imagine, so the power goes out, 500 customers are impacted, let's say. Our T-man gets out there, starts patrolling. Well, in most of these heavily wooded areas, you're not going to find the individual tree branch that's got a little singe on it from when it touched the wires. So when we get there, it's likely going to be an unknown cause. And so about 30 to 35% of our outages last year in the summertime were unknown cause. And it was those kind of situations. But I want you to think, and I know that's frustrating, but the EPSS program, if you think about it, that power outage potentially stopped a wildfire. And so that tree branch falling on that wire is going to give that potential for, sparks and things to hit the ground and potentially cause a fire. So that system is, giving some enhanced protection to your community. I understand the outages are, annoying and probably, potentially too frequent for your liking, but we're doing everything we can. That's also why I talked about that targeted tree work. Places where we think things are maybe happening, we're going out there and attempting to do additional tree work to try and get us away from those type of situations. So please bear with us. We're doing everything we can, but we really appreciate all your patience as we work through this and keep communities safe with these wildfire safety outages.
Thanks, Tom. So we have a question here regarding SGIP and requesting some additional information on SGIP program. I'm not very well versed in SGIP. Tom, are you?
Yeah, I actually just had an update today on this, heard some information that the funding is about to be freed up on that. And so I understand there's been a hold on that and money has not been released for that program, but understanding that's about to change. I don't have a firm date on that. If you want to send your information into the wildfire safety at pge.com, we can potentially get you some additional information with some. I don't have anyone from our resilience team on the phone today to get the exact information, but I do know that things are about to start moving in that. So if you want to email us in at wildfiresafetypg.com, we can have somebody follow up with some more information.
So we have another question. Where do we call if we need trees near lines assessed for safety? So great question. We have our Report It app. And so if you have a smartphone, you're able to download the app, Report It. You're able to submit your photo for non-emergency potential safety concerns, and the photo will be submitted and reviewed by a PG&E team member and investigated, and someone will contact you. You can also get more information about this at pgne.com/report it. We have another question about undergrounding. The maps for undergrounding are interesting. Can PG&E provide something similar for line hardening? Even through Alameda County has large areas in the high-risk fire zone. There is 1 mile planned for undergrounding in Alameda County in 23 and 24. Presumably there is other hardening work going on in the county. Would like to know where.
Yeah, so we are working right now on something we are calling it's a visualization map that shows all of our system hardening work, the camera installations and weather stations that I spoke of, where EPSS is enabled, where it's actually enabled, or where it could be enabled, previous PSPS areas, etc. There was a previous version of that map available on our website. However, we're in the middle of a refresh of that, and we expect that to be available later this fall, probably September timeframe. If I'm being a little optimistic, but I'm hoping by September that will be available, and all of that system hardening work, reconductoring, all of the strengthening we're doing on our system will be viewable in that tool.
Thanks, Tom. And so we have another question about where undergrounding will happen. And so PG&E has committed to undergrounding 10,000 miles. Tom, can you answer more about how we identify where we are going to be undergrounding?
Yeah, so undergrounding is determining where, because I talked about we have 25,000 miles potentially, and even a little bit more if you look at like the WUI, the shoulder areas that aren't exactly high fire threat areas, but a fire could very easily start there and spread up into those areas. So we look at that area as well. There's a lot that goes into the prioritization and thoughts around where to underground. So one of the factors, of course, is where are the biggest risks in terms of, open spaces, lots of line with lots of vegetation, lots of fuel. Then thinking about, so that's one way to think about it. We also then are balancing in, are there customers out there? Who are the customers out there? Are there critical customers? Are there hospitals? Are there water districts? Are there, emergency services, community-based organizations? Our customers that are enrolled in our medical baseline and AFN programs, I can actually say they are also part of that factoring of looking at where our vulnerable populations live. And so that's another part of the calculation. We also then look at the difficulty in really undergrounding. There are areas that are very good for an undergrounding project. There are also some areas that are very, very bad. Think about areas that are very rocky bedrock situations like that, where remote grids and some other solutions may be a better ultimate decision than undergrounding. So it's not a one size fits all solution, but that is some of the things that are considered. And so there's a whole team that basically does nothing but work on this. And right now, I actually just had a meeting with them earlier today where we were talking about how to balance critical customers and customers enrolled in NBL into their secret sauce of how they're figuring out how to deploy this, these 10,000 miles. And you can, understand 10,000 miles is going to be very costly to do as a project. And so we want to get the most for everybody in California with those 10,000 miles. So those 10,000 miles are precious, and we want to make sure we put them out there in the best places where they're going to do the most good. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So we have a question about the transfer meter and if it can be installed in a sub-metered community.
Our meter would not be able to be in one of those situations because our meter is designed. It is basically a smart meter, one of our PG&E meters that measures, an energy use from our end use customers, and then has that plug. So it wouldn't work actually. So unfortunately, no. However, on some of those pedestals, though, I would speak with your landlord about solutions there because usually mobile home parks have that stand-up pedestal. There are some easy things that can be done to those pedestals that are easier to get into than a traditional panel, where there could be some solutions there. So I would talk to your park there and see if they have any suggestions.
Thanks, Tom. As we're waiting for other questions, I would just like to remind folks that if you are dependent on electricity for medical needs, please do sign up for the medical baseline program if you qualify. And if you do not qualify, there is the vulnerable customer status that you may be qualified for. So please do look at both of those programs if you depend on electricity for medical needs. And if you are on the medical baseline or the vulnerable customer status, it's really important to prepare for not only an EPSS, PSPS outage, but any kind of outage. So we highly recommend reaching out to your Disability Disaster Access and Resource Program in advance, so they have the proper time to do an assessment of your needs and provide the correct solution if there was to be a public safety power shutoff. So Tom, given all of the information that we shared today, what is the one takeaway that you would like to share with all of our attendees today?
I think the biggest thing would be contact information. So we all have busy lives. We think about this stuff all day here at PG&E, right? That's what we do. But we understand you all are not. So I want you to think about when's the last, have you changed your number? Have you got a new email? Do you have a different address now, even though for mail or any of your contact information, has it changed? Were you not the primary on your account and now you are? Has who the primary on your account changed? Think about all those things. And if any of those situations has changed, please make sure you're updating your contact info with us. You can call us directly. You can go to pg.com. There's several ways you can do that. It's very easy to change that information and keep it up to date. But, all the things that we talked about today, especially with wildfire safety outages, PSPS, we saw the storm activity that we have this year. Very important that we can get a hold of you for these updates and let you know what's going on in your community and when the power is going to be back on, should it happen to go out. So I think that's my number one thing, is just think about your contact info and make sure we can get a hold of you if we need to.
Great. Thank you, Tom.
That's it.
I would like to thank you and for taking the time to join our wildfire safety webinar. We welcome your feedback and your input. So if you have any questions, feedback, and input, please email us at wildfiresafety@pgne.com. Reference this webinar tonight, and we will respond promptly. And we thank you again, and we hope you all have a very safe evening.